So in January, I took the plunge and ended up buying a DJI Mavic Mini. I was looking at getting like a used Spark, but because I saw a friend of mine's and he let me use his, and I brought it out to my place and we flew it around a bit, and I was completely impressed with it. I was just amazed how neat those things were, drones. And just happened to be in January timeframe. I was thinking about, taking the plunge and buying a used DJI Spark for $300, with the Fly More package and stuff. And he said, check out this DJI Mavic Mini. And so I ended up buying it. Good drone. I definitely like it. I don't want to go into too much of the review because I think probably most of the people who are watching this video probably seen many reviews already. So let me just talk about my experience with flying in cold weather and the flyaway issues with it. So I've put about just over 10 hours on my drone in the last 2.5 months. Flew it quite a bit in a lot of different situations, a lot of different temperatures. So let me just, let's get into it. So I think right off the bat, I noticed, or it seems in my opinion, that I can't get the drone to fly as far away without losing signal as my friend with his Spark. So I don't know if that's just to reduce the weight. They don't have as good of antennas in the drone, and maybe not as good of antennas on the controller. I don't know. But so the reason I mention that is in cold weather, especially, the drone does not perform, and by cold weather, below 20 degrees. So once you start getting below 20 degrees, I think you have to be very cautious about what you do with the drone. Stay close, don't go over water, and don't go into any trying situations where, maybe it's very windy or something like that. So because, I believe because the drone is essentially hollow, like if you take the battery out, you could look through the drone and see the gimbal, and past the gimbal you can see, daylight. So there's not a lot of insulation around the battery, which I think means, as you're flying, there's literally kind of wind blowing through the drone, and it actually cools the battery down more than it would, say, on the Spark or some of the other DJI products, or even some of the other drones that I've seen. So I think that actually is pretty detrimental to the performance of it in very cold situations. So anything below 20 degrees, I get max power errors fairly regularly. I don't, you're more likely than to have the drone just like literally fall out of the sky. And that did happen to me once. I took it out near my house, just kind of like, oh, beautiful sunset, I'll just go up a little bit, kind of take a look around, and then it just suddenly, like I was giving it the stick full throttle up, and it was dipped down, then it kind of went up, and then it just went down, touched the ground, and flew back up. Luckily, I got it recorded, so you can, got to enjoy that. But that was exactly what was happening. It just suddenly lost power. I didn't even get a max power error. It just dropped, or I don't remember getting one. All of a sudden it just dropped down and hit the ground, and it was just baffled me at the time. But again, the temperature was probably sub 15 degrees Fahrenheit. The second thing, flyaways. I've had a few instances where I nearly lost the drone, or I could have if the situation was different. The drone is very light, less than 0.55 pounds. So, and it's not as fast as some of the other DJI drones. So if you're used to flying, I think even the Spark, it's going to be a much different experience than with the Mavic Mini. The Mavic Mini is going to be more susceptible to, the cold weather, I believe, and then also just the wind itself. It's going to be pushed around a lot easier. You're going to have a lot harder time flying against a strong headwind. And so I know that a lot of people have said this in the past and talked about, okay, well, as you get higher up, the wind's going to get stronger. So I don't want to, reiterate that too much, but that's definitely true as you get higher up, and you just don't know what the wind speed could be. So, so here's my suggestions when dealing with, any time you go out and it seems like it's kind of windy out. I mean, there's definitely days you can go out and it's completely dead calm and you have no worries whatsoever. But if there's a little bit of a breeze, even down below, consider you might have quite a bit of wind as you get up to some elevation. So the first thing I usually do is, I try to plan my flight so that I'm going against the wind to get to whatever it is I'm going to shoot, and then coming back with the wind, because that just kind of eliminates the possibility that I might get stuck over wherever it is that the drone is shooting. Secondly, what can you get low and fly back? So, and by low, maybe 20 feet off the ground, is there going to be any obstructions, trees, obstacles, structures, anything like that that'll prevent you from coming back at that elevation? I should say at that altitude. And then thirdly is have a plan. If you need to land somewhere over there, do you have a place to land? So are you above water? You're kind of up a creek there if you're above water. But if you could touch down onto a road or the sidewalk or something like that and then walk to the drone or drive to it or something like that, have that, just kind of think of a contingency plan off the top of your, like when you kind of show up and you're unpacking your drone, you get out, figure out where the wind's coming, and as you're, getting things set up and turned on and kind of just looking around, think about what you would do if you couldn't fly the drone back straight to you. Where could you land it and be able to recover it? And it doesn't have to be elaborate, but at least just kind of like having it in your mind helps. So here's an instance where I was shooting a power plant, a nuclear power plant, fully legal. There's a park right next to it, so it's a great shot, a great place to shoot from, and obviously, I mean, you can't tell from maybe where I'm at, but I did not go over the fence towards the nuclear power plant. I was probably legal to do that, but I don't want to push her luck. I don't want it like suddenly having more regulations and stuff like that on drone pilots because people are, do stupid things flying around nuclear power plants. So the drone, trying to come back to me, it was actually, I was between the drone and the nuclear power plant. And so I had to fly towards the nuclear power plant where I was at. And the wind must have picked up at that elevation. It would not come back to me. I did not have an issue. I flew around that area for maybe 20-30 minutes. I was on my second battery, and all of a sudden just wouldn't come back. And my buddy, who has the DJI Spark, was flying around like crazy, like nothing was a problem. I could not get back. And you can see that I'm almost going to the left. So the drone is pointed basically directly at me, but it's kind of drifting to the left. I'm not giving it any left. I'm not asking it to do that. I'm trying to get it straight, all full throttle back to me, and it wouldn't do it. So that's when I started bringing the elevation down. Luckily, the path, like even though that it was kind of like drifting left, it was drifting towards where the path that I was on was actually going to. So I figured at least no matter what, I could land it probably on the path and then, be able to recover the drone. But it was a scary time because it seemed like something was, it was just not responding. And it was very strange. But again, this is a perfect example of just get low. As the lower I got, then I started getting below the tree line, and then the wind really started dying down, and I started to get quite a bit more control from the drone. And I was lucky that I wasn't further away from me, because behind the drone was another tree line. And it occurred to me, like, if I had to bring it down low to try to get back to me, I would have been behind that tree line. And behind that tree line was also a lake, so there was no place to land the drone. I might have been able to kind of sneak it in right next to, like, in amongst the trees, but it was definitely a scary situation. It was also really cold out then, and I was definitely pushing my luck. This was kind of before I knew better about the cold temperatures. It was probably right around 15 degrees out when I was flying. But luckily, I recovered it. This was probably the second incident of very similar situation. The first time was flying, also in cold weather, and then against a very strong wind, and just getting low and being able to just kind of follow the terrain back, I was able to recover the drone. So this is why it's important to understand what obstacles or obstructions might be between you and the drone if you do have to bring it down low to come back. You don't want to get stuck behind something, or or potentially go behind a building or a berm or a hill or something like that, and then suddenly you lose signal, and then the drone tries to return to home, and then you get in a weird situation there. So just try to consider that when you go out with this particular drone. So in summary, basically, cold weather, stay closer. I'd say, within 500 feet. You just feel it out, but you don't want to get too crazy and get too far, too high, or anything like that when it's really cold out. You just don't know what the drone's going to do. You want to stay. Definitely don't want to go over water. So anything when you're below 20 degrees, I don't like to go over any water if it's that cold. As far as the flyways go, just understand which direction the wind's blowing. Have a plan, kind of get an idea of like, if you do have to go low, is there anything that's going to block you and keep you from getting back? Could you land wherever you're flying to? And recover the drone that way, and just remember that the drone does decent in wind, but it's light and it's not as fast as some of the other DJI drones. And if you're used to flying those, this one is not going to be as capable in the wind. Again, my friend with the Spark was flying his all over the place, no problems. Same, cold weather and the windy conditions, he didn't have any issues at all. Where definitely the DJI, the Mavic Mini was struggling a bit. It doesn't make it a bad drone, it's just that's the capabilities. And just knowing what the capabilities are and just working within those capabilities, you can still have a lot of fun, achieve some great shots, and do some great stuff with it. So hopefully this was helpful, and I didn't drone on too long about just random stuff. And if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, I definitely appreciate it. It helps the channel out, and thank you.